Welcome to r/pro revenge, where a call center worker causes a guy to lose his company. Our next Reddit post is from Draconian. This story comes from a friend of mine, Sarah, and the story's been building for almost 5 years until it all came crashing down over the last week. Sarah works at an insurance company, dealing with a massive nationwide delivery company. Her company insures all the delivery trucks. Over the years, Sarah has seen her fair share of anger from callers, mostly justified or people letting off steam at the anonymous voice on the other end of the phone. She's learned not to take it personally. She absolutely despises the owner of one particular franchise depot, Dick. So in 2016, Dick is the franchisee of a vehicle depot for a delivery company, meaning he's sort of an owner, but the company CEO could take away his ownership if they feel like it. I'm not sure exactly how it works, but as far as I understand, it's a fairly standard franchise contract. So anyone who knows about these things should have a rough idea of what Dick has to do. Dick calls in for the first time to talk to Sarah about a claim that one of his drivers is making. Something simple. He reversed into a wall. There's minimal damage, but he's claiming it to get the vehicle repaired. Dick starts ranting and screaming about how dare he be expected to pay an excess, which is standard. Sarah's dealt with people like Dick all of her career, so she just deals with it as she always does. And so it continues for 2 years, with Dick bullying and abusing any worker when he calls about a claim. It's annoying, and plenty of people have been brought to tears by it. But they can't stop serving him because he's responsible for dealing with his franchise's claims. It's now 2018, and Dick decides to get himself arrested. To give you an idea of how stupid this man is, one of his drivers had been in a really bad accident. Nobody was seriously hurt, but the van was badly damaged. So while it was being repaired, Sarah organized for a hire van. Dick goes to the hire company to collect the van, and he's asked to make a £1 payment by debit or credit card to secure the vehicle. I'm pretty sure this is just so that the hire company can charge the card for any damages while it's being hired, and this is an industry standard in my company. Dick does not like this. He argues with the hire company. He threatens to dump the hire vehicle once he's finished with it. Finally, he punches the poor guy working the front desk. And as previously stated, Dick gets arrested. Fast forward to a few months ago. Everyone's working from home due to lockdown. Everyone except Dick. Dick must have been having a particularly bad day because his tantrum about how useless Sarah and her company is descends into personal insults. Sarah's having an equally bad day and decides that now is the moment she'll get revenge on this guy for everything he's put every claim handler through. So she requests a copy of the recording of the call, and she sends this recording to 3 people. 1, her manager, saying she refuses to speak to Dick due to his abusive behavior. The rest of the team agrees, and suddenly there's not a single claims handler willing to speak to this man. The manager says he'll sort something out. 2, Dick's boss, simply stating that this behavior is unacceptable, and the next time he tries to speak to someone at this insurance company that way, they'll end the call. 3, every listed CEO or board member of Dick's company. She wanted all of them to know just how vile this man was. Then, today, she gets the call she's been waiting for. A representative of Dick's company has called, wanting to apologize for everything Dick has put her and her team through. He also gives the best news. Dick has been downgraded from franchise owner to a lowly delivery driver. His lovely pay package, benefits, annual bonus, and company-funded car, a brand new Mercedes for anyone interested, have all been taken away. He now earns a little over minimum wage, 60-hour weeks to pay his bills, with his reputation in tatters. If he doesn't meet the standard for delivery drivers within the next 3 months, he'll be fired. Sarah also learned from someone she knows in the company that his wife is divorcing him because he told her she needs to get a job or they'll lose the house thanks to his sudden drop in income. Sarah hasn't yet met the new franchisee, but if I know her, she'll make it clear that she's the one who ruined Dick's life. And she isn't afraid to do it again if the new guy doesn't treat her and her colleagues with respect. Our next Reddit post is from Chicken to Phoenix. I worked as a security guard for a few years at a factory. My last year, I'd made site supervisor and ran the guard booth. We were contractors. Our contract was simple. make sure everyone who comes in was logged in, we watch the cameras, and we call the bigwigs to pick up their visitors. Every now and then, we did a walkthrough or some paperwork. Simple. And it left us with a lot of downtime depending on your shift. During my tenure, I made a few friends, a few enemies, and got along with most of the people working there. It's surprisingly easy to investigate incidents when people like talking to you. One of the enemies I made was a supervisor, Ted. Ted had worked his way up from a line worker and felt that since he'd made his way from nothing, he deserved his ego. He'd squared himself firmly against anyone he couldn't control and never gave him his due. We all know his type. Now, Ted treated his line workers pretty poorly, and more than a few reported his misconduct to me. One of our duties was to log any of these complaints as an incident report, submit a copy to the factory admin, submit a copy to our company, and then file the original. Ted had his own folder in that drawer. Ted did not like this. Ted did not like me. At the start of COVID, we lost most of our staff in the booth. We were down to 3 guards trying to cover a 24/7 schedule. We did a lot of 12-hour shifts, starting from March going all the way to October when I left. My company struggled to fill the missing spots, hiring 2 guards during that period. Neither lasted more than 2 weeks. October came, and I was burnt out. Then, both my remaining guards quit. I don't blame them in the least. I immediately turned in my 2 weeks and refused to work more than 12 hours a day. After I turned in my notice, my company scrambled to replace me and the missing guards. They got my replacement at the start of my last week, and she started on Sunday. I trained her for 1 day, and she never came back. I discovered on my last day she claimed that I intimidated her and made her uncomfortable. She told my boss that she didn't feel safe around me. Now, I was livid at this. I've never mixed business and pleasure. I'm a big guy. I work out. I've never had those intentions at work. It was a major joke anywhere I've worked because my tagline has always been, I don't shit where I eat. I was burnt out. I had an amazing woman that I'm now dating who is coming out to see me in 2 weeks. I'd spent hours training this new employee. I had her scheduled during my shift for the entire week so I could walk her through everything to do with the job. I had squared off with the factory admin to keep it that way. I was doing everything I could to help this new employee because she was coming into a major mess. Admin was looking for a different contractor. Supervisors were trying to access our files. We had tons of sensitive information that would have let anybody move up the ladder quickly, or at least remove a lot of competition. It was chaos. At this point, I hadn't had a day off or a good night's sleep in 3 months. And the boss, whom I'd only ever talked to over the phone, had arrived in person to tell me all this. I was almost terminated over this during my last week. If I didn't have the work ethic that my father taught me, I would have walked then and there. I finished my day and walked away, never intending to think of that job again. Now, the story should end here, but it didn't, and this is the juicy part y'all are hankering for. See, after I left, a few friends kept me up to date on the going-ons. My replacement came back for a day and then quit, citing the long hours would keep her away from her kid. I was salty, but it's not my problem, until a few days ago. See, Ted had found out about her allegations and began spreading rumors I'd been terminated for sexual harassment. He then told people that I was a serial harasser and had caused a former female employee to quit as well. Actually, that employee left because I got the site supervisor job over her. I had seniority and she had a dirty disciplinary record. She had a few incidents that had nearly gotten her fired. I did not like what Ted did, especially given that 2/3 of the incident reports I had on Ted were for sexual harassment. What Ted didn't know is that I don't like being screwed with. While I'm quiet and unassuming, I had plenty of time to build up my evidence. So, for backstory, when I was a computer tech, I'd been royally screwed over and nearly fired by my then boss. He gave me directives that were a violation of company policy, bad enough that when they came to light, I was given an immediate, final written warning. Since I had no proof that my boss told me what to do, I shouldered the full blame. Since that day, I've created mutually assured destruction folders, or MAD folders for short. I had a folder on anyone I felt would try to screw me. Ted was one such person. All the originals of my folders were kept hidden in online storage, and most were never touched. But Ted pissed me off and was threatening my future job prospects. Reputation was everything. So I opened his folder. I had access to the camera system at the factory. Folks, small-town factories are disgusting. People do stuff you would not believe. One really popular thing to do is screw in the parking lot. Ted had built a little harem for himself by giving better line positions to women that gave him a little action. And I had pictures and video. I made a nice little folder with some choice clips and stills. Then I sent them to his wife and oldest daughter. Ted's been married for 20 years with 4 daughters, 2 in college, 1 graduating, and 1 graduating in a year or 2. No clue what happened there, but I doubt it's going well for him. And that wasn't the end. I wasn't satisfied. This never would have happened if that replacement hadn't used me as an excuse to duck him. During her 1 day of training, my replacement had asked me about cell phones with good cameras and a bunch of weird policy questions. A few careful questions, and lo and behold, she has an OnlyFans. I warned her that that was a huge violation of our contract with the company. That any type of sex work is forbidden, as the company has clients in Vegas and some European countries where that's illegal and doesn't want any workers moonlighting. The company is incredibly strict on that. Strict to the point that I could have her terminated on the spot. They're impartial. Man or woman, it's not tolerated. Thinking on this and being very irate, I track it down. She was nice enough to have links in her premium snap. I bundle this and send the information to 3 groups. My previous employer, the IRS, and her ex. She's been in a protracted custody battle with him, and our state is a little conservative. Judges here do not look favorably on sex workers. Most have a prejudice that the women are hooked on drugs and will harm the child. And I just gave her ex evidence of sex work and possibly tax fraud. If his lawyer can't get at least split custody on child support, then that's on the ex for being a piece of trash. So that's my story. Our next Reddit post is from Beaker. A friend of mine used to install wood stoves and sell firewood. He still sells firewood, but stopped bothering with fireplaces. This one guy bought a fireplace and wanted it installed. My friend did this, but told him that he would need a higher chimney for better air drawing. The guy refused, and my friend kept insisting. The owner said no, and when the fireplace was done, he complained that it was hard to get a fire going. My friend came with a chimney extension, and it worked fine. But the client decided he didn't want to pay, even though the job was done and done well. So a few weeks later, my friend was passing through the area and saw that nobody was home, but there was a fire going to keep the house warm. So my friend climbed up onto the roof and got his chimney extension back. It was a plus, but it wasn't enough to cover everything that was installed and the time for labor. Where things get funny is that once he took the extension off the chimney, due to poor drawing of air, the house started to fill up with smoke as the fire burned. The owner must have come home to a thick, smoke-filled home. Try getting that smell out of stuff. Lol. There was probably a layer of soot on everything. To my recollection, the owner didn't have any pets, so no lives were harmed. But when everything you own is black and reeks of smoke and your home is freezing in the middle of winter, I bet you would have rather paid someone for their products and services. This is good revenge, but this guy's lucky he didn't kill anyone, because if someone had been, napping in a bedroom, then he could have killed someone with carbon monoxide poisoning. That was r/pro revenge, and if you like this content, check out my podcast where I publish the exact same episodes. Also, hit that subscribe button because I put out new Reddit videos every single day.